There is a sound that has defined Europe for the last 70 years. It is the hum of the assembly line, the roar of the blast furnace, the rhythmic precision of the greatest industrial engine the world has ever known. But today, if you walk through the industrial heartlands of the Ruhr Valley or the factory districts of Bavaria, you hear something else. You hear silence. Germany, the third largest economy on earth, the engine of Europe, is dying. And it is not dying from natural causes. It is not dying because of a war on its soil. It is dying because it committed suicide. The numbers are catastrophic. A bankruptcy is declared every 22 minutes. 55,000 jobs in the automotive sector, the pride of the nation, have been wiped out in 2 years. The debt is spiraling. The cities are insolvent. The energy bills have quadrupled. They call it the return of the sick man of Europe. But this is not an illness. This is an amputation. But if you are watching this from the United States, do not make the mistake of laughing at Germany. Do not think this is a European problem. Germany is merely the canary in the coal mine. The exact same policies, the exact same debt traps, and the exact same industrial arrogance that destroyed Germany are currently being implemented in Washington, D.C., California, and New York. Germany is the ghost of America's future. They are just 5 years ahead of us on the timeline of collapse. Today, we are going to dissect the corpse of the German economy to show you exactly how a superpower destroys itself from the inside. And then we're going to look at the American map and show you why the Made in USA label is about to face the exact same extinction event. Part 1. The industrial suicide. To understand the magnitude of this collapse, you have to understand what Germany was. For decades, Germany was the anomaly. While the US and UK shifted to finance and services, Germany stayed true to the physical world. They built things, cars, chemicals, machines. Their model was simple. Import cheap energy from Russia, use high-skilled labor, and export premium products to the world. It was a money-printing machine. But then, the machine broke. Or rather, the politicians poured sand into the gears. According to economic experts, the collapse we are seeing today, the 24,000 corporate bankruptcies this year alone, is the result of a triple shock. First, the political vacuum. When Angela Merkel left, she took the stability of Europe with her. The governments that followed were coalitions of chaos. They had no plan. They had no vision. They walked into the storm with their eyes closed. Second, the energy crisis. This is the smoking gun. Germany made a fatal geopolitical bet. They bet their entire economy on cheap natural gas from Russia. It was the heroin that kept the German industry high. When the war in Ukraine started, the pipeline was cut. The withdrawal symptoms were immediate and lethal. Energy prices didn't just go up, they quadrupled. Imagine you are a factory owner. Your electricity bill goes from $1 million a month to $4 million a month. You cannot raise your prices by 400% because nobody will buy your product. So you have two choices. You shut down or you leave. And that is what is happening. The industrial base is fleeing. BASF, the chemical giant, is moving to China. The steel mills are going dark. But the most unforgivable sin was the third shock, the green delusion. At the exact moment Germany lost its cheap gas, the government decided to shut down their nuclear power plants. Let that sink in. In the middle of the worst energy crisis in history, they turned off their cleanest, most reliable source of power for ideological reasons. They bought electricity from neighbors at insane markups. Meanwhile, the United States is quietly ramping up coal and fracking to keep the lights on. Germany chose ideology over survival. And now, the lights are going out. Part 2. The death of the Autobahn. If you want to see the heart of the crisis, look at the car industry. Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, Audi. These aren't just brands, they are the identity of the nation. They employ hundreds of thousands of people. They support entire cities, and they are currently bleeding to death. Just last week, Audi announced it might close its plant in Brussels. The Q8 e-tron, their flagship electric SUV, isn't selling. Volkswagen is discussing closing factories in Germany for the first time in its 87-year history. They are planning to cut 30,000 more jobs by 2030. Why? What happened to German engineering? Two things happened: the European Union and China. The European Union decided to ban the combustion engine by 2035. They forced the German automakers to abandon the technology they had mastered for 100 years, the diesel and gas engine, and pivot entirely to electric vehicles, EVs. This was a trap. By forcing the transition to EVs, Europe threw away its advantage, engines, and entered a battlefield where it had no advantage, batteries. Who owns the batteries? China. While German CEOs were sleeping, China spent 20 years cornering the market on lithium, cobalt, and battery manufacturing. Now, Chinese companies like BYD, Geely, and NIO are flooding Europe with EVs that are technologically superior and 30% cheaper than a Volkswagen. The European consumer is voting with their wallet. Why pay $50,000 for a VWID? 4. with buggy software when you can get a BYD seal for $35,000 that works perfectly. The result is a massacre. In Italy, car production hit a 68-year low. In France, Renault was sending layoff notices. The supply chains, Continental Bosch, are collapsing. They tried to save the planet, but they destroyed their economy. And the pollution didn't stop. It just moved to the smokestacks of Shenzhen. Part 3. The bankruptcy of the cities. When the factories close, the tax revenue stops. When the tax revenue stops, the cities die. We are seeing the Detroitification of Germany. Listen to the mayor of Essen, one of the largest cities in Western Germany. He didn't mince words. He said, "Most German cities are facing the specter of bankruptcy." This isn't political rhetoric. This is a distress signal. The deficit across German municipalities has hit $35 billion. These cities are responsible for schools, hospitals, roads, and emergency services, but they are caught in a vice grip. On one side, their costs are exploding due to inflation and energy prices. It costs twice as much to heat a school today as it did 3 years ago. On the other side, their income is collapsing because the factories are closing. And then there is the third pillar of the crisis, the cost of migration. This is the most controversial topic in Europe, but the numbers don't lie. The mayor of Essen revealed that the cost of refugees and migrants is costing the system nearly $60 billion a year. The social welfare system is breaking. Germany has an aging population. They need workers. Experts say they need 250,000 immigrants a year just to keep the labor market floating. But the system is inefficient. A huge percentage of the welfare budget is going to people who are not working, while the high-skilled German engineers are emigrating to Switzerland or the US. It is a demographic death spiral. An aging population, a shrinking tax base, and an exploding welfare bill. A bankrupt city means broken roads. It means fewer police. It means schools closing. It means the end of the first world standard of living. Part 4. The American infection. You're next. Now, I want you to pause. Take a look at everything I just told you about Germany. Energy prices, destroying industry. Forced transition to EVs, mandated by the government. Exploding national and municipal debt. An immigration crisis, straining the social safety net. A polarization of politics. Does that sound like a foreign country? Or does that sound like the United States of America in 2025? We are watching Germany collapse in real time, but we are ignoring the fact that the United States is following the exact same playbook. Let's start with the auto industry. The US government, through the EPA, is forcing GM, Ford, and Stellantis to transition to EVs, just like Europe did. And just like Volkswagen, Ford is losing billions on every EV it sells. Ford's Model E division lost $4.7 billion in a single year. They are being forced to build cars that the market does not want, to satisfy mandates from politicians who have never run a business. Meanwhile, who is waiting in the wings? China. Right now, tariffs are the only thing keeping BYD out of the American market. But tariffs are a bandage, not a cure. If American automakers cannot compete on price and technology, they will eventually die. We are creating a Rust Belt 2.0. Look at the energy grid. Germany shut down its nuclear and coal plants before the green infrastructure was ready. Look at California. Look at New York. We are retiring reliable power plants and trying to replace them with wind and solar, destabilizing the grid. Grid reliability warnings are flashing red across the Midwest. If we lose cheap energy, we lose the only advantage we have left against China. Look at the debt. Germany is panicking over a few billion in deficit. The United States is running a deficit of $2 trillion every single year. We are adding a Germany-sized debt to our balance sheet every 24 months. Our cities, Chicago, San Francisco, New York, are facing the same doom loop as Essen. Commercial real estate is collapsing, tax revenues are falling, and costs are rising. Part 5. The global contagion. The collapse of Germany is not an isolated event. It is a domino. Germany is the anchor of the Eurozone. If Germany falls, the Euro destabilizes. Italy and France are in far worse financial shape than Germany. They rely on German bailouts. If the German checkbook closes, the European debt crisis returns. And this time, it will make 2011 look like a picnic. But the contagion will cross the Atlantic. German companies employ nearly 900,000 Americans. German banks are deeply intertwined with Wall Street. If Deutsche Bank wobbles because of corporate defaults in Munich, the shockwaves will hit JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs instantly. But the philosophical contagion is worse. The West built its entire post-war order on the idea of industrial democracy. The idea that we make the best things, and therefore we have the best lives. Germany proves that this era is over. We are entering an era where the East, specifically China, controls the supply chain, the energy metals, and the manufacturing capacity. Conclusion. The final warning. The tragedy of Germany is that it was preventable. It was a man-made disaster. They chose to rely on enemies for energy. They chose to demonize their own industries. They chose to print money to cover structural problems. The United States has one advantage left. We have our own oil. We have the world's reserve currency. But we are doing everything in our power to squander it. We are demonizing our energy sector. We are debasing our currency. We are prioritizing ideology over economics. Germany is the ghost of Christmas future. They are showing us exactly what happens when a superpower forgets how to be a superpower. The factories go silent, the cities go bankrupt, and the people get poor. The Atlantic Ocean is wide, but it cannot stop the laws of economics. The German disease has already infected the American patient. The symptoms are there. The fever is rising. The question is, will we change the treatment, or will we follow Germany all the way to the hospice? History rhymes. And right now, the song being played in Berlin is about to become the anthem of Detroit.